The project we have selected for our assignment is the Box Hill Central Private Redevelopment. The report and the slides are completed by Group 3, consisting of Jin, Ben, Max, Shinkai, and Jiezhu. The Novian Property Group and Federation Centres merged to establish the Victorian-based firm known as the Vicinity Centres in 2015. Adding 60 years of knowledge to the project's experience pool, Vicinity presented a proposal in 2020 to significantly transform Box Hill's, at the time modest CBD, into the new town square that would offer a mixed-use zone, with homes and offices as a part of a 10-year vision. The first phase of the project aims forward to develop the community's long-term vision for Box Hills Central by adding homes, shops, offices that will serve the neighborhood, while the vicinity offers to develop the neighborhood surrounding it as well. There are two alternatives for this project. Alternative A focuses on the first phase of the project, which the Whitehorse City Council approved for completion by the middle of 2022, entailing preliminary planning and early work to provide the groundwork for the 10-year plan. This early proposal called for 3,400 square meters of additional public areas, 366 wood-framed apartments, 50,000 square meters of commercial office space. As for Alternative B, due to the substantial influx of new consumers, they have authorized accessibility to these additional amenities and build a new entrance and walkway on the southwest side of the retail center. The second component of the development involves the construction of new office space for businesses above Central South with access from Carrington Road. This is a significant reduction in the number of people from what they had originally planned, but because of COVID, Victoria was subject to serious lockdown limitations. They were unable to install the dwellings that they originally envisioned in Alternative A. This slide primarily focuses on the financial status of Vicinity. There is a debit current quick ratio of less than 0.5. This means that the company can pay off its liabilities if there is a risk of crashing. The profit margin is over 100%. This is a rare instance where the company made money on something that didn't cost them anything. It also has a favorable return on equity that gauges the financial performance to be optimal for the company. The total asset turnover is 0.076, means that this company has a low asset turnover due to a huge asset base. The price to earnings ratio shows that the shares within this company is not very desirable to earn as a passive income, as the optimal range is suggested to be around 20 to 30%. However, Vicinity has a low price to earnings ratio of 11.2%, which is simply not enough to meet over this criteria. Now I'll hand over to Shakun to present the project costs.
For Alternative A, the project cost. So the capital cost for the shopping center will be around 5 million. Commercial office premises will be 128 million. Development side will be 11 million. And the land will be 778 million. For the materials for Alternative A, we will choose mainly the wood-based construction. The per square meters is 1,500, and the total price will end up be 139 million. Labors, we will recruit around 40 people in 10 years. So it will end up be 48.7 millions for Alternative A. So for Alternative B, the difference between Alternative A is we don't have any apartment constructions. So instead we add up the car park and shopping center redevelopment. And same as the alternative A, the labors will be the same, 40 people, but instead of 10 years, that will be in 3 years. So you will end up total price will be 14.6 million. And the operation cost will be the same as alternative A.
For the project benefits, Alternative A, the sales revenue as Victoria's largest private urban regeneration project, it expects to accommodate 3,800 residents and more than 6,000 workers by 2030. A typical commercial office space can contain 30 people per 100 square meter. With this, a maximum 388 apartments can be built. Average rent price per square meter in Box Hill, Victoria is 460, with a total annual revenue of 214 million will be generated for Vicinity when the project is fully completed. And for cost saving, it is based on wood, which is cheaper than other material construction. The cost is decreased by 17.4%. Cost saving will be 3.7 million. Net salvage value, no fixed assets or subcontractors to complete the work, so net salvage value is zero. Borrow fund, none, as after first stage approval, there is already private investment of approximately 700 million. And for alternative B, the sales revenue is lower as residential apartments are removed. With the retail shopping mall and commercial office space, the sales revenue is 35% lower compared to alternative A, which is 183 million. The cost savings by choosing steel and concrete, the cost will increase, but due to the removal of residential buildings, the cost saves between two parties. Net salvage value, same as alternative A, is zero, no borrow fund, assuming that the working capital is 12-month operation cost during the project, ultimately lower than alternative A, and the total is 1.7 million in 3 years. The Box Hill Central building will not generate revenue during construction. Contracts for some commercial and office building can be negotiated before completion. After construction, revenue is expected within 5 years. The completed center will include additional public areas, apartments, and commercial office space. It aims to accommodate up to 35,000 people, generating an annual revenue of 11.5 million within 3 years. Initial occupancy prediction ranges from 50 to 60% before reaching 70 to 80% occupancy within 5 years.
The primary investment for this project is focused on renovating the land, which includes landscaping, architectural design, materials, and labor. The total cost for these components is around 324.5 million in first year. So this will be the expenditure for the first year of the project. The major expenses during the construction stages will be associated with hiring professional architecture engineers, developing a design and landscaping. Since there's no need to acquire new land or start from scratch, these costs will be the main focus. Additionally, there will be smaller investments required for unplanned project renovation, upgrades, or changes in landscape and architectural design.
Thanks for that, Tim. Let's move on to the viability of this project with the evaluation of the cash flow statement previously provided. Let's begin by calculating the NPV for net present value. With the two alternatives of this project, we see that there are two different options, with the main difference being the duration of the operation of construction. Alternative A demonstrates a construction period of 3 years, while Alternative B demonstrates a production period of 6 years, double the length of the previous one, with values projected and forecasted above the cash flow statements. Looking at the two alternatives, it immediately becomes apparent that Alternative A demonstrates an immediate negative value, demonstrating significantly high operational costs with no immediate return. We'll see the value of $243 into the negative on this aspect. If we continue to operate the project for an additional 3 years with the alternative B, we can see a significant difference where it is the complete opposite, and we see a profit of close to $240 million. Seeing this graph here, we can see where the funds stopped using the first alternative and how they can continue through upwards to such a drastic increase in alternative B. Looking at the BCR, the benefit to cost ratio, for both alternatives, it can be easily determined using this formula here, where the present value of the total benefits is divided by the present value of the total costs. And then once we have received the present value of the benefits, we can then cross that against the additional present cost. Further on from those figures, we look for our internal rate of return. We'll notice that there is a significant difference in the rate for which the alternatives demonstrate. Alternative B shows a much higher rate of return of 24%, further signifying that this is the most relevant and viable alternative to engage for this project.
When identifying the risks of a project, they can be divided into two subsections, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative variables tend to be more subjective, focusing on identifying risks to measure both the likelihood of a risk event occurring and the impact it will have on the overall schedule. The goal is to determine severity. Results are then recorded in a risk assessment matrix or any other form of graphical report to communicate hazards to the stakeholders. Key variabilities affecting the project would include uncontrollable conditions like weather, controllable conditions like the scheduling, aspects of the input of the project such as the labor, or aspects of the output of the project such as the product or the material waste. A tool used in qualitative risk analysis is the probability matrix, used to evaluate likelihood and impact of identified risks. Using a numerical scale to evaluate the likelihood and impact of each risk, allowing for the development and prioritization of mitigation strategies. Quantitative variabilities use verifiable data to analyze the effects of risk in terms of cost overruns, schedule delays, resource consumption, and scope creep. Quantifying an identified risk using drivers represents the probability that the risk will occur on this project and the impact it has on the duration of the activities it affects if it occurs. Some methods of quantitative risk analysis include the sensitivity analysis, revolving around finding the NPV or BCR, systematically analyzing which variable has the largest impact on the NPV BCR, and by adjusting the discount rate. The aim here is to slowly change individual variables affecting the NPV BCR and identify which variable has the greatest effect on the final value of the altered, and applying a sensitivity rating to order the priority. Another method is the Monte Carlo method, which is a simulation model when the potential for random variables is present. This is useful in assisting to explain the impact of the risk and uncertainty through prediction. These simulations are created to simulate perfectly efficient markets. Using the Monte Carlo method and simulating 100 trials, the result achieved shows an expected NPV and can be highlighted in a visual graph.